summer of 1920, a woman named Henrietta Lacks was born. The story of her life would be both triumphant and tragic. Little did she know that one day she would have a profound and long-lasting impact on the medical community. Henrietta Lacks was born on August 1st, 1920, to John and Eliza Pleasant in Roanoke, Virginia. She lived in an old slave cabin with her family and was very poor. When Henrietta was 14, she had her first child, Lawrence, with her cousin David Lacks. They went on to have their second child, Elsie, in 1939. They later married and moved to Baltimore, Maryland in search of work in 1941. Henrietta was a stay-at-home mom while David worked at the Bethlehem Steel's Sparrows Point steel mill. Over the next 9 years, Henrietta had 3 more children named David Jr., Deborah, and Zachariah. Because they only had one income, they were in poverty and struggled to give their children a proper education. In 1951, soon after the birth of her 5th child, Henrietta began feeling pain in her abdomen. She went to Johns Hopkins Hospital to seek treatment. She was quickly diagnosed with cervical cancer. At the time, there were very few successful cancer treatments, although Henrietta chose to have the standard treatment. Doctors at the hospital stitched pouches of radium, one of the most radioactive elements, inside of her cervix. During the operation, a surgeon took a sample of Henrietta's tumor without her knowledge. At the time, this was not uncommon for doctors to collect tissue samples without a patient's consent. The doctor sent her tumor samples to the lab, and it was soon discovered that her cells could rapidly multiply while being outside of her body for a long amount of time. This was unheard of because normal cancer cells had a limit to how many times they could multiply and could only survive for a short amount of time outside of the body. Unfortunately, this revolutionary discovery was never shared with Henrietta or her family. Sadly, a few months after her operation, Henrietta died on October 4th, 1951. Although her name did live on, Dr. George Guy named the cells HeLa cells, the first 2 letters of her first and last name put together. Dr. Guy quickly took advantage of the cells' ability. Realizing that they could be mass-produced, he sent them out to doctors worldwide. One particular doctor, Jonas Salk, did tests on the cells, which later led to the creation of the polio vaccine. The cells were soon being sold anywhere from $200 to $10,000 a vial. This meant that while there was a multi-billion-dollar industry revolving around HeLa cells, the Lacks family remained in poverty and received none of this money.
Over the years, some people searched for the person HeLa cells belonged to. When someone came close to finding it, a fake name would be released by the researcher who grew the cells in hopes that the Lacks family wouldn't find out. It was not until about 25 years after Henrietta died that her family learned about HeLa cells' existence. At first, they did not understand what they were being told due to their lack of education. Some family members didn't even know what a cell was. Other members of the family didn't become concerned with the use of Henrietta's cells until they discovered there was money involved. When they learned that they had been cheated out of such large amounts of money, they were angered. The family found out about the cells in 1973, although it was not until the 2000s that they took legal action. The problem was that the statute of limitations for medical malpractice was expired, meaning it would be very difficult to gain compensation for the money they have not been receiving. In 2010, the author of The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks created the Henrietta Lacks Foundation. This foundation's goal is to keep individuals who have made important contributions, particularly those used in research, without their knowledge or consent. Although they have received no financial compensation, they now have a say in what happens with Henrietta's cells. Although controversial, the triumphant and tragic story of Henrietta Lacks has ultimately led to the improvement in patient care and professional knowledge. Henrietta Lacks was a victim of medical malpractice. The Lacks family lived in poverty for their whole lives. The money made off of Henrietta's cells could have greatly benefited them in the pursuit of higher education and quality of life. Although what the medical community did was wrong, Henrietta's cells have bettered the lives of many and improved scientific knowledge.